Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of No More Kids in Scientology. And as you guys can all see from the thumbnail, today we're going to be discussing black sheep and all things dysfunctional families. We really want to start digging in further as to the level of dysfunctionality that takes place in the Scientology kid's life. And we really wanted to show you this video that talks about being the family scapegoat or problem child, as many of us are the problem child, and really have a very, very honest conversation about what constitutes family dysfunction. It's so good to see you guys here. Hello, Mary Sue. Thank you for being a wonderful, supportive member. Hello, Angela Boo, Top Secret, Danny, Amanda. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation and information that we're going to share here about family scapegoats. So let's take a look and start reacting right away.
When you come out of complex trauma, you develop ways of relating to survive. And those kept you safe, the ways you learn to relate. But what you find is as you get older, they don't work so well anymore. But it's important to go back and really understand your relationship style and why you relate the way you relate.
So, as I know, many of you guys that join us in these lives all the time are also survivors of complex trauma. I really wanted to highlight this so that as a community, we start really looking at some issues and tools and definitions that can, perhaps really start digging and chipping away at that level of dysfunction and how we relate to others. So,
when we talk about complex trauma, one of the terms that I use regularly is a dysfunctional family. And I have had many hundreds of people say to me, everybody's got a dysfunctional family. We all are dysfunctional. And what goes on in their mind is this distinction that goes, the only other option to dysfunction is perfect. So nobody's got a perfect family, so we're all dysfunctional. And that seems to make sense, but it really misses an important piece. And that is dysfunctional. The opposite isn't perfect. The opposite is functional. But what does that mean? So the word dys for dysfunctional actually means in pain. And so what we mean when we say a dysfunctional family, it's a family that's in pain and a family that can't resolve pain. So let me broaden that for you. All families go through pain. All families have hard times. All families have bad things that happen. A functional family is able to deal with those things, resolve it, and come out the better for it.
So isn't that great, you guys? Dysfunctional families means that you are a family in pain. And the reason to really highlight this point is because Scientology, under the false premise that is really going to help people inside the family resolve issues, really what it does is gaslight the entire family structure and put all family members in a position of pain, in a position of coercion, in a position of exploitation, and in a position where all family members are being manipulated and are being ensnared to work against their best interest. Now, the most horrific, disgusting aspect of this is that all of this dysfunction is being done with this gaslighting promise that inside Scientology hotels, people that complete 2-week courses get full unfettered access to all of your family information. All your information having to do with your finances is kept at the hotel. All your information having to do with your sexual history is kept at the hotel. all the information of what's going on with your kids is kept at the hotel. So given the fact that the people that are so-called advising people on how to unravel dysfunction are nothing but, ridiculous people that take 2-week courses and then all of a sudden become know-it-alls, then it really does create an environment. Imagine that, you take all your money to a financial advisor that took a 2-week course inside of a hotel, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, listen to my financial advice. I'm going to give you great financial advice because I took a 2-week course inside of a hotel that a convicted felon pitched, and you have no idea how great that's going to be for you. So that's what we're talking about, dysfunctional families. Dysfunctional families are in pain. Everyone in your family unit becomes compromised because even as our parents are deluded, really going with the pitch, oh, we're really getting help at the hotel. Oh, we're really getting hooked up inside of the hotel. All they're doing is getting these people that study 2-week courses that become all of a sudden know-it-alls. Like, no therapist that I've ever visited with took one course for 2 weeks and then all of a sudden was advising me on how to handle my own personal issues. No financial advisor that I've ever gone to has told me, oh my God, look, I took a really quick course here. 2 weeks is all it took for me to learn all these things. And that is, the bottom line of the dysfunction in those families. And even for all of you guys that didn't grow up inside the Scientology hotels, this applies to you as well, because all that it requires for you to know if you're in a dysfunctional family is your family's capacity and ability to deal with pain. And I really like what he's saying, that there is no perfect family. No one expects parents to be utterly perfect and never make a mistake. So mistakes are made, things are done, and it is part of resolving those mistakes, accounting for those mistakes, learning from those mistakes that lands kids in being part of a dysfunctional family or not.
So there are functional families. So to be a functional family doesn't mean you never go through hard times. All families do. What makes it a dysfunctional family is it can't resolve that pain.
Yeah. And I see your comment here, Mary Sue. Scientology sounds more like a company than a religion. And that is correct. It's a company that offers services by people that take 2-week courses in hotels or commercial buildings. And then all of a sudden, they really do purport to be very elite, to be very highly qualified. And they basically erode all boundaries, all privacy boundaries between their subjects and themselves. So Scientology is a data mining operation. They're always asking questions. They're always getting information out of the people that are going and visiting the hotels. And every single information that is being data mined by the Scientology auditors, by the Scientology ethics officers, by any of the Scientology people is always being used against the people that are there. It's never looking for their best interest, because there is no concept of best interest inside of the hotel. At the hotel, all they care about is, how are we going to make statistics? How are we going to make money? How can we make more money? How can we use the fact that this father just told us that he's having a really hard time with his daughter to make a quick buck? Oh, we can sell him a program. How to get along with your child program. Oh, let's send him to the ethics officer to really solve that. And then all of a sudden they are in some sort of ethics session with a child, including but not limited to a child that completed a 2-week course in a hotel that is all of a sudden advising a father how to handle upsets with the daughter. So all of this is just very, very dysfunctional, very, very sad. to be honest. It's really, really sad when you really think about it, because again, no one is being helped. Everyone's being misguided. Everyone's being told that, these courses really have answers to their problems. And L. Ron Hubbard had a very good way to make it look like he did have solutions, but all of his solutions were actually disgusting. Blow drill. Parents' priority should be creating a safe space to resolve and work through real life issues. Exactly. So there's plenty of obstacles in life. There's plenty of things that can go wrong, but a good measure of that is how can it be getting resolved? And that's why we're advocating for all the kids, because all the kids that have Scientology parents today are stuck in disgusting, dysfunctional families. You look at the Cardone girls, the young daughters of Grant Cardone being adulticized, being exploited, and they don't know. They don't know what's happening to them. They don't know themselves, because as a child, you just basically are so deluded by all of these delusions being, propped up by your parents. And all of that leads to pain and dysfunctionality.
And so the members of the family live in unresolved pain, which leads to the piling up of pain. And that is the reality of a dysfunctional family. And so what we're going to see as we go into this is that children growing up in pain, they begin to go in their mind, what do I need to do? And they have three different priorities in their mind. What do I need to do is in how I relate so that I don't get hurt again. Secondly, what can I do as a kid that will...
So really, let's break that one down. A child in these hotels, in this dysfunctional Scientology families, you start figuring out, what can I do so I don't end up in pain? And I can talk from my own personal experience as a child. Like, people always ask me, why did you get started on the courses so young? It's because our parents put us to do the courses. And our parents were very critical of us. They told us we're disgusting, degraded, out ethics, and all of these words that the convicted felon pitched to them. So as a child, you go, well, what if I do a course? Oh, if you do a course, then you're great. If you do a course, you're wonderful. If you gain status inside of the hotel, then we're going to be very proud. So a child cannot understand that the status and the progress being pitched by your own parents is going to be working in your own detriment. And again, all children are outsourcing their critical thinking skills to their parents, who should be knowing better. And that's why it's very hard for Scientology kids to actually come to terms and reconcile and understand why their parent would have been putting them in harm's way.
That will help this family in pain. And thirdly, how do I get my needs met in this family that is in a lot of pain? And so that's where the roles come into play. In a family of complex trauma, a dysfunctional family, there's the one child that's referred to as the troublemaker. They're the ones that's defiant, rebellious, angry all the time, and he just won't get with the program and smarten up.
So imagine that some of us were actually, especially like people like Blow Drill and me and all the ones that ended up in the Sea Org. Remember, children that end up being trafficked working on the 1 billion year contract are told that they're very much with the program. In fact, if you say that the Sea Org is bad, that the Sea Org is abusive, then you're being told that you're not with the program. So anytime you have any disagreement with L. Ron Hubbard policies, you are told that you are the problem, that you have words that you don't understand, or you have miswithholds, or you are a suppressive person. And no child can be being brought up in these environments being insulted and degraded, because they're just being scapegoated. And the family's trying to run control on a child. And the more the child is aware of the problem, the more they get told that all the problems that the children are bringing up are not valid, that we couldn't have been more delusional, and there's something really wrong with us for not acquiescing to the disgusting abuse. Never mind that we were groomed from birth to accept the abuse, to think that it was okay, to somehow everybody around us said, oh my God, it's great that you go get an audit. It's going to be so wonderful for you. But again, being locked up inside of a hotel room with a random adult asking you disgusting essay questions is never going to be good for a child to be doing that. Never under any circumstances. There's no scenario in which a child is being locked up against their will and they're being helped. And that's why we're raising the alarm so that all Scientology parents that are doing that right now, we already grew up. We already left the hotel. We already are disgusted and nauseated as we are reconciling that we've been scapegoated and gaslit by the adults that were, again, defrauded themselves at best or worst, using the rhetoric of the convicted felon to power trip, to become drunk on power, and to abuse kids with impunity and entitlement. So that has no place in modern society. Abusing kids with impunity is illegal. Coercing kids is 1000% illegal. Aggravated child abuse is a crime. So none of that can be happening in the Scientology families with full impunity as of today, the year 2024, as we have all really realized how disgusting it all is. And we literally couldn't be more disgusted or nauseated that everyone's running around playing dumb, like our opinion as the children that did leave and did sound the alarm and did say, this is completely disgusting, this is completely nuts, this is completely illegal. Where the hell is the LAPD? Where the hell is the Clearwater Police Department? Where the hell is the FBI stopping the illegal abuse of minors at an industrial size scale? Why are minors' passports getting locked up? That's a complete and utter crime. The fact that children's passports were getting locked up is criminal activity. Why did that take place, Debbie Cook, inside of your hotels? How many minors' passports did you confiscate inside of the hotels? So it really does fully come back full circle because, you know, as kids, you don't know. As a child, you really do think that these adults that act very confident, like everything that's being done is very, very valid. It couldn't be more valid, but, you know, the year is 2024, and in the year 2024, none of the things that we thought were valid turned out were valid because it was all to hide the unthinkable dysfunction that our whole entire family unit was really engaging in.
Now, let me say this right up front. Of all the roles that we're going to look at, the problem child is the one person in the family that is being honest. Everybody else is lying, both to each other and to themselves. What is going on in the scapegoat or the problem child is they're saying this family is sick. And I'm not going to lie about that. We're messed up. And everybody walks around like we love each other and like all our needs are being met. Well, they're not. And I'm not going to go along with it. I'm rebelling. Now, what I want you to get is this.
So I think that's very important, you guys, as you see all of us creators that have come and used this platform to raise awareness and advocate. It pains us to know the truth. The truth cuts like a knife. It's not anything that any child wants to realize. My parents were defrauded. My parents got literally swayed to do unthinkable things to us. And then it's like you are stuck with all the dysfunction. And being honest about it is the first step at actually taking a stab at really, debunking all of those lies that are being said by a family that's pretending that they couldn't be more together, that they couldn't be more happy. Perfect example, my two sisters that are still part of Scientology, that are still following the rhetoric of the convicted felon, that are still, one of them is subjecting their underage child now to that same rhetoric. So they're all pretending they love each other. They're all pretending that they really have it together, and they couldn't be more dysfunctional. They couldn't be more implicated in illegal activity as the rhetoric dictates the illegal activity. I cannot get tired enough of stating that fact because, again, there can be a lot of things that can be dysfunctional about families, but the Scientology families are running on policies that were dictated by a convicted felon, policies that cannot be questioned, policies that have to be followed blindly. So given the fact that all of that dysfunction is being done at an industrial size scale, it requires us to come forward and confront all Scientology parents that decided to check their critical thinking skills at the door outside of the hotel, outside of the Scientology facility, infantilize themselves as they go inside, and then start getting indoctrinating, paying to be indoctrinated on this level of dysfunction and abuse. So it couldn't be more tragic, really, when you think about it.
Their rebellion is actually a healthy thing because they're saying, I don't want a house of lies where we abuse and hurt each other. I refuse to go along with that. I rebel against what's happening here.
We don't want the house of lies. We are sick to our very core of all the lies, of all the BS that all the adults are running around pretending, oh, we really want to save our world. We couldn't have been more religious. You're not religious. You're not religious. Let's really debunk and push back on that delusion, dangerous delusion. Because again, through that dangerous delusion that they're actually doing a religion inside of these hotels by following the words of a convicted felon, everybody is ending up getting hurt. It's that simple. It's systemic. It's institutional. No one is saved. There is no, oh, this Scientology family really is a success story. It's a success story of the programming. It's a success story of the indoctrination. And it's a success story of the grooming of the convicted felon. And imagine that as long as nobody says they're getting hurt, then everything is great and wonderful. And the minute somebody says, this is BS, this is complete lies, then all of a sudden that person starts getting attacked. And it's like a cancer that just grows and metastasizes because the level of dysfunction could not be any more egregious or extreme.
Now that's how it starts. A good rebellion. The problem is it goes into a bad rebellion as well. But that's what it begins. Now, that's what's going on in the child. Now, here's why the parents like the scapegoat. Now, when people say, you seem to have trouble in your family, they go, look at our hero child. We're good parents. The reason we're having trouble is because of this child. He's the problem.
And again, an example of my situation. Look at my sister, my hero child sister that, number one, never got put inside of the hotel to work on the billion-year contract and instead took the celebrity route, being employed by John Travolta, being employed by Nancy Cartwright. She's the so-called hero child, and I'm supposed to be the black sheep. So my parents are very proud of their hero child that is literally helping Nancy Cartwright donate more money so that more kids can be brought in from other countries, get their passports locked up, get abused in disgusting ethics, audits, and courses. And that's what they're considering a great success story. My parents couldn't be more deluded if they tried. And it's sick. And it's very, very sad. And it's honestly unthinkable. But this is pretty much the reality of every single child that wakes up to the facts as full-grown adults that we are now. We're not adults in small bodies like they told us at the hotel. We have a fully developed brain that can distinguish all the nuances of the false pitches of the convicted felon. And that's why it matters that the alarm is literally sounded alert code red. Child slavery is being made great again inside of these hotels. As kids, we were told and groomed to think that being slaves for these adults was in our best interest, was a way for us to survive. So really do think about how dysfunctional that is, because no child can consent to be a random adult's slave inside of a hotel. Like I was put to be Debbie Cook's slave for her. She had no right to make me her slave. She had no right to exploit me. She had no right to abuse me. She had no right to put me in harm's way. So the hero child of all the Scientology parents is their own delusion, because my sister is deluded. And now she's helping another woman that's donating millions of dollars so that child slavery can be thriving in America in this modern day. Today, in the year 2024, we're not talking about, oh yeah, back in the day when there was no constitution in America and slavery was legal. No, we're talking about children being turned into slaves as we speak today, because the dysfunctionality of these families is just transferred from one to the other. And if you're not that black sheep, if you're not that scapegoat, if you don't have the guts to call it out, then you become implicated in all the criminal schemes that were pitched by the convicted felon.
And that's why he's called the scapegoat. He is blamed for all the problems in the family, in the marriage. And what the parents basically communicate is this: if we didn't have this child, we wouldn't have any problems in our family.
Literally, that is exactly how my parents view me in their equation of their family. If I wouldn't have been born, then they would have had the perfect family, because they have two hero kids that don't rebel, two hero kids that participate and become fully complicit, compliant, endorsing all the policies that the convicted felon literally groomed them in. And then all of a sudden, what? How are they better off? I would argue that all Scientology kids that rebel, you're way better off than you know. As much as it's much harder to go through the route of integrity, to stand up to the disgusting abuse, and to not desire to be liked or admired by our families, which goes against the human instinct of children. Children want to be part of a family. They don't want to become scapegoats. But again, Scientology parents, wake up to the facts so that you stop abusing and hurting children.
It all gets pinned on that child. So they're actually quite happy to have this child because they got somebody to blame for their stuff. And they don't want to look at their stuff, so they have a scapegoat to put it on.
And I think that's very important to really discuss. Like, they don't want to look at their own thing. So Scientology parents have always tried to go, that child's the one with the problem. Those kids are the ones that are wrong. And they always purport that the kids at the hotel doing the certificates, getting the audits, doing all the disgusting things are the great examples to really hold up. And it couldn't be farther from the literal, actual truth.
So that then results in this problem child getting blamed for everything. And so more stuff gets piled on them all the time. Now, a couple other things are happening with the scapegoat. The scapegoat becomes the honest expression of how everybody's really feeling, but afraid to show. So when he rebels and he gets angry and he lashes out and he speaks his mind, the mom and dad, he's really giving a voice to everybody. They won't admit it, but that they're almost thankful for. But then,
So, and this is one of the main reasons that we do this channel, you guys, because plenty of under the radar Scientology kids that have reached out that we can discuss because they're still stuck in their dysfunctional family. But when they see us rebel, when they see us call out the dysfunction for what it is, not with the diluted terms, not trying to groom you as our audience to really understand how it works inside of the hotel, because all of that dysfunction is fully illegal. All of that dysfunction is depraved. And once that is understood by them, it's when they start having that awakening for them to then start having their power to be that black sheep. So it's important for all the survivors that were stuck at these hotels, that were brought in and groomed as children, to feel like they were consenting participants of this racketeering criminal scheme that's been state-sponsored by the IRS, no less. Because let's not forget that this government plays a big role in enabling all of this disgusting abuse. So before the state really wants to go, we had no shred of a clue. Double check if you didn't, because you definitely have a ton of criminal liability all over your fingertips, IRS. The blood of all the kids that were child trafficked by Scientology, it's in the IRS hands. No one else gave these people this level of ability to go around the world bringing kids from other countries to enslave them. The responsibility of kids being enslaved inside the Scientology hotels is sitting squarely at the IRS hands, who provides our Scientology parents with hefty tax write-offs, where including but not limited to abusing a child with full impunity is washed away and rewarded by the Internal Revenue Service of the United States of America. So just so that no one's confused about, oh, can we really go beg the IRS to revoke their tax exempt status? The IRS needs to start giving us an account of all the millions of dollars that they have literally given for tax incentives for self-admitted felons to get away with full-blown criminal admissions of criminal acts, including but not limited to the criminal acts that were perpetrated on the underage kids.
then what happens with this scapegoat is they are really ostracized by the family. The family says, you're the problem, and they kind of feel like a black sheep. They don't fit. They don't belong in this family because they refuse to play by the rules of this family. And so,
and imagine again, you guys, we didn't have a family. Our family had no rules, no thoughts of their own, no policies of their own. They couldn't have done anything. Everything was outsourced to the convicted felon that they're paying to worship. So that couldn't be more dysfunctional or egregious or disgusting, because again, it's good to be a black sheep. It's a great day to realize that if you are the black sheep, at least you are on the right side of the street. Never mind that that's going to come with a lot of pain to all the Scientology kids that need to wake up to those facts. No child ever wants to wake up and think that my parents wanted to abuse me. My parents abused me full knowing. My parents put me in harm's way, purporting that they were going to help me or gonna help save the world, but no world was being saved while kids were being put in harm's way. Nothing good is going on when children are being abused or tortured or put to do disgusting role plays with adults inside of these disgusting hotels where, again, it wasn't a single case of a child having a bad experience with this. All children experience the same level of depraved abuse that is indefensible. And if any Scientology parent really wants to defend it in the year 2024, try and type that pitch to us. Defend why audits were okay. Defend why ethics handlings were okay. Defend why you place your kids to do the disgusting grooming courses that were pitched by a convicted felon. Double check on that real quick.
So they feel like an outsider and outcast. So that's as a child. Now let me show you what happens.
And we did. We felt outsiders. We felt like outcasts. We had to force ourselves to pretend that we wanted to do these courses so that we could survive. So when we could get told, oh, you did really well because you really got to class 4 at the age of 14. Aren't you so lucky? Well, you know what? We were not lucky at all. No child should ever be trained to be a disgusting auditor, because all they're being trained to do is to become like L. Ron Hubbard. And given the fact that L. Ron Hubbard is a full-blown convicted felon degenerate that was obsessed with eroding all common sense boundaries between adults and children, double check again, Scientology parents, if that was a great idea. Because the year 2024 has come. And in this year, your BS delusion isn't going to be cradled or canoodled. We've got plenty of concerned citizens, plenty of adults in the room that see straight through the BS and understand the severity of the abuse given the systemic issue that it is. This is not just like, oh, we landed with Larry Nassar and our parents really thought we were going to a doctor. BS. All Scientology parents knew what an audit was, knew what an ethics handling is, and exactly were fully aware of what they did and groomed in the disgusting courses with dolls. So that's on all of you to start making sense of that level of dysfunction that was, aided and abetted, fully endorsed by all of you. And all of you who have left, it's a great day to start setting the record straight and repudiate what the hell you normalized as an adult.
As they get older into adult life. I find it interesting in working with scapegoats or problem child people all the time is that most were extremely sensitive children. That's what clued them in that this family's got problems because they got hurt so much and they weren't prepared to tolerate it or turn a blind eye. But in order to survive, they had to rebel. And in order to rebel, they had to harden their heart and harden their skin and shut down their sensitivity. And so what begins to happen in a problem child as they get into their teens is they try not to feel anything at all. And they shut everything down.
This couldn't be more the literal thing that happens, you guys. Like all kids, as a child being exposed to that amount of trauma, you completely dissociate, you completely stop feeling anything, and you just become the robot and the people pleaser that they expect you to be. Because remember, if you're not people pleasing, you're getting punished. If you're not people pleasing, you're being sent to ethics. If you're not people pleasing, you're being told that you need to go get an audit. Oh, what's wrong with you? You used to be very people pleasing 2 years ago, and now you're rebelling. Time to get you back into an audit, trying to really outsource to source out what's wrong with you. And again, no therapeutic thing ever happened to any child that was being locked up against their will under these conditions.
Now that will become problems for them later in life. They will have to relearn how to feel emotions. They will have to really enter into scary territory. So that's the first problem. The next one.
And it's so true. I mean, so many kids develop so many bad coping mechanisms as a result of that exposure of complete dysfunctionality. You don't have access to your emotions. You suppress your emotions. Anytime you are emotional inside of those hotels, you are punished. You're told, come up tone. You're told, why are you so down tone? Why are you so degraded? Why are you such a degraded being? What child is processing their emotions in any type of healthy way if all they do is get projection from adults about how they're disgusting for having human emotions after being abused? I mean, really think about that. In what world is a child being told that they're a degraded being because they don't want to be in the Sea Org anymore? They want to break the billion-year contract only to be told that they are the problem. Oh, you want to break the billion-year contract? You wanted to help save a world 3 years ago, so you got really degraded recently, didn't you? So let's send you to ethics to really process your level of degradation, because you're like a complete degraded being that needs to be undegraded. And again, no adult can be doing that with a straight face and really saying that they really want to save a world. That just literally doesn't pass the smell test whatsoever. And no adult can claim they're practicing a religion by telling a child that they're a degraded person. Like, I would love to see what other theology of religions out there really goes and tells parents to call their kids degraded.
Next one, part of their rebellion in their teens is they started getting applause from other kids for being a bad boy. And so they said, wow, here's how I get my validation.
Well, and think about this here. Although you do have this, there were so many rebellious kids that were rebelling and were going through this process that he's talking about. But remember, in Scientology, they are surveilling these kids' lives, emotions, and everything coming out of their mouth. So every child that tries to rebel, every child that tries to say something is instantly hit with a sack of bricks of Scientology punishment, so that they don't get any ideas that they can rebel, so that they don't get any ideas that they can say no to the abuse, so that they don't get any ideas that they can literally withdraw the consent they never gave in the first place. Because that is the most disgusting thing that was done by all of these adults. No child ever signed up to be part of your disgusting hotel scheme. Scientology parents, Scientology executives, no child wanted it. It couldn't be more disgusting. It couldn't be more dysfunctional. It couldn't be more repulsive if you tried. So really do double check what in the hell you're doing inside of those hotels in a new unit of time today in the year 2024. Because we got plenty of adults that still want to go with the pitch, but we really thought we were saving a world. It doesn't matter what you thought. No bank robber can go, I'm going to go rob $2 million out of a bank because I'm really going to save a world with it. You're going to end up in jail if you commit a criminal act. And robbing a bank is a criminal act. Coercing a child is a criminal act. Aggravated child abuse is a criminal act. Locking up passports of children is a criminal act.
I can't be validated in my family because the hero gets all the validation. So I will get validation from being a bad boy. And they tried to be the baddest of the bad. And what often happened is they felt in order to get new validation, they had to keep pushing the envelope. So last time they drank a whole 12-pack at a party. Tonight they're drinking a 2-4 at a party. And everybody's going to talk about how drunk they got.
And so many kids, you guys, so many teenagers in Scientology were having this problem. They were developing unthinkable addictions. They were developing unthinkable coping mechanisms, bad coping dissociative mechanisms that were not helping them in any way, shape, or form, that were in fact just doubling down this perception at the hotel where they were like, oh, you see, don't hang out with Joe Schmo because look at him. Oh, he's always getting drunk. They're so disgusting. They're so stupid. They're so off purpose. They don't want to help us save our world. They must be suppressive. They must really not want to help save our world. So again, I feel so bad for all the kids that were smelling the rat of the BS pitched on the audits, of the complete BS by these ethics handlings and courses that Scientology was offering with a straight face to underage kids, because it was the exposure to those disgusting grooming tactics that made us feel like we were partaking in their disgusting hotel culture. And for the 10th billionth time, no child consented to be part of your disgusting hotel culture. Scientology parents, Scientology executives, and Scientology attorneys. So all Scientology attorneys that really want to purport that kids sign up for this, double check if the law allows you to make that case for children as young as 8 years old to really want to be subjecting themselves to disgusting, unthinkable, extremist role plays, which is what all audits were. In case you are too stupid to make that connection, Scientology attorneys.
And then they push and push, always a new way of rebelling against the system. And that can be a problem. And then as soon as somebody says, who's in authority, I want you to do this, they've trained themselves to do the opposite.
I mean, imagine, you guys, we had a lot of people role playing, oh, we're really the authority of the ethics. We really have the authority on how to fix your head because there's something wrong with your head when you're rebelling. And going back to the point he said, it's healthy to rebel. It's healthy for kids to not want to be a part of this disgusting culture of vultures and predators. No child wants to make themselves available for predators and vultures. So if your parent is grooming you to accept predatory behavior, then we really are in a very, very dark, disgusting place. And given the fact that all of us as kids were given that as our only option, as our only choice, it couldn't be more of a problem today as we speak.
And so in a relationship, if their partner said, could you do this for me? They just get their back up. And they don't want to do that for them. And so to have a relationship, they're going to have to look at that rebellious, knee-jerk reaction that is so part of how they train themselves to respond to authority and to rules.
And that's the issue with a lot of kids in Scientology, you guys, that cannot take today any type of authority, that cannot take today any type of, oh, let's really go to a therapist. And they have been spent. Their bandwidth is exhausted. Every purported help they got as children was only to abuse them more. So it's a cycle of complete dysfunction all the time. And even when you are on the flip side, even when you rebel, even when you cut out all of your family that is doing this, it's still very, very hard to accept help. It's very, very hard to be vulnerable. It's very, very hard to act normal in a lot of ways because all of that dysfunction and betrayal is really playing out in present time, even if you got disconnected from all of the dysfunction. And that's what makes this maze of smoke and mirrors so problematic. And that's why we have so many of our friends that have literally unalived themselves as a direct result of this, because the bandwidth of kids being brought in through this hotel operation is exhausted by design. Not a mistake, not oversight, not, oh, oops, we let Larry Nassar in. And then these kids got abused, essayed by a disgusting man. No. It's imagine all the people, every single person in the U.S. gymnastics team was in on forcing those girls to get abused. And that is what we're talking about. That's literally the alarm that we are sounding. Kids are not safe inside of the hotels. How much clearer can we be? We're literally giving you how the dysfunctional family creates the perfect environment for these traffickers to get unfettered access to underage kids. We're disgusted. We're calling it out. We're not okay with it, and it needs to stop. It's fully illegal. The law is on our side. The law is not on the side of the child traffickers going in the hotel, paying to get tax write-offs from the IRS to go get service by underage children.
And then much of what they learned to do in their rebellion is to manipulate people, to intimidate people. So they got what they want, but people don't see them as safe. People see them as a bit of a danger, a loose cannon, as a person who couldn't be trusted, a person that's just got too many anger issues. And so they struggle with all of that. And so
exactly. Yes, you literally see them as people with too many angry issues. And that is one of the projections that gets said about even us. Every time you go outside of the programming of the approved talking points of whatever in the hell talking point has been placed by the corporate media, completely in an effort to wash the image, to not confront what the facts are, is how we end up here, is how we end up in this situation of literal kids getting abused. Fat Grammy, all families have stuff, not a real family unless you do. Functional families learn how to deal with the stuff together and in love and respect. Absolutely. It's that is missing out of all of our families. All of our families were relying on the advices of a convicted felon to resolve conflict. The convicted felon didn't give an F that the conflict was resolved. The convicted felon was pitching a power dynamic imbalance that is indefensible and never resulted in any conflict getting resolved or any pain getting actually addressed. Everybody had to shove the pain underneath a carpet, pretend that the works of a convicted felon really did help deal with that. And it never did. It just literally never did. Roxy Rain, I'm anxiety-ridden. Scientology is a cult. Scientology traffics children. Yes, Roxy Rain. Scientology made child trafficking, child slavery great again in America, and we are calling it out, and we're disgusted, and we want something done about it. Let's go. Thank you, Let's Go, for being a member. Children would do anything in their innocence to get love from their parents. I mean, that's what's so incredibly dangerous. That's what's so incredibly egregious, because anybody who's a full-grown adult today can understand that. That's something that no one should have to teach any of these adults. It should be common sense. What we're talking about is a lack of common sense going on inside of those hotels. Indefensible common sense is not protected religious activity. Give us a break. Mary Sue, yep, I was in the Sea Org. I was recruited. First was made to sign a contract at the age of 12. And then they put me on what was called a so-called Project Prepare. So they prepared me to really get me into the Sea Org by the time I was 15 years old. So, yeah. Top secret, very sad when kids are involved. Exactly. Very, very sad. If adults want to be involved in this, again, like we can have an opinion about it. We can say it sucks that you really want to get involved in that. And there's nothing that anyone really could do to tell an adult, don't believe that or believe what I'm saying. It's called, you are an adult. You are responsible for your own thoughts and your own beliefs. But as kids, no. Kids are not responsible for their thoughts and beliefs. They are in a de facto place to be harmed. They're in a very vulnerable place, and they are right now in a very vulnerable place as we speak too. Thank you, Blow Drill. Tina, I couldn't imagine being without my kids or grandkids. The parents would have to be more interested in their own selves. I mean, yeah, Tina, it's unthinkable what the indoctrination of this convicted felon does, because it's all so systemic, eroding the humanity of our parents. And we are saddened by that erosion that took place. We're sad that this is what our lives became, but it is what it is. And today, all we can do is utilize all that we have learned, going back to functional. Being functional means that we are able to address the pain. It doesn't matter how unthinkable it is. It doesn't matter how horrific it is. It really does suck to be us. We understand that, but you know what? We know we didn't choose it. So the only thing we can do today is to be the change we want to see, to be the advocate we didn't have inside of the hotels, and to galvanize and get all of you educated in understanding all of these points, because we do have more kids that need advocates in there. The scapegoat is the honest one. Love this guy. Yeah, Marisu. It's always so hard to accept that going against the grain can be so challenging. But yeah, the scapegoat is the honest one. The scapegoat is the one that the programming is not working. The grooming is not working. We're no longer groomed by disgusting convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard. We couldn't be more disgusted or nauseated that we were ever groomed to do anything like he said to do. Literally is disgusting. As kids, we're constantly told we were responsible for our own condition and any problems could be solved with the correct application of Scientology. And again, it's creating that wheel of abuse and dysfunction, because as a child, you know, you don't have the capacity to say, well, this is BS. Like the Scientology thing doesn't resolve anything. I'm out of here. So all we have is now our adult selves to go, no, as children, we are not responsible for what all of these Scientology adults did to us. As children growing up in this dysfunction, we are not responsible for all the grooming that was used to normalize their delusion. Let's go. Being honest to the family takes so much courage. It brings lifelong consequences, but your conscience is clear because you live in truth. Absolutely, let's go. And again, it's going back to the point, it's like we didn't have advocates making these points when we were stuck at the hotel. No advocacy for children has existed in 74 years of the Scientology problem being state-sponsored by America and all other countries that have decided to give a convicted felon full unfettered access to underage kids, because that's the blood that is on the hands of every single government, from Germany to United States to Denmark to Spain to Australia to South Africa to Hungary to Russia to Japan. I think the only country that didn't allow them in is China. Imagine that. Tina, so you weren't treated like kids? No, we were treated like we were adults. Like No children should be treated as adults. No children. Adults are not adults in small bodies. Larry, we have the power to help support beautiful humans who may be able to fix this work through love and acceptance. Absolutely. Lady Time 365, children are the future and the roles may ultimately reverse. We all have a dog in this fight. Absolutely. As long as there's kids involved inside of the Scientology hotels, we all have a dog in the fight. Children are owed advocates. That's something that they are owed. We all can put our adult brains to use and start making the points that they are incapable of making for themselves. And hopefully curtail, rein back this unfeathered axis and all of the dysfunction that took place, that we live to tell. And we understand that that's even already a privilege in the context of this conversation. The fact that we were even able to survive this is already actually a miracle. Because again, how many years has it taken? How many decades has it taken for these points to be made? For the black sheep of this situation to come forward and say, enough is enough. This is disgusting. It cannot be. And all adults that are currently doing this need to stop right away before your criminal liability continues multiplying. It's literally in your best interest to not accumulate more criminal responsibility, because anytime you are coercing your child, you're going to get charged with a crime. Anytime that you've been using aggravated child abuse, you're going to be charged with a crime. Ask Ruby Frankie. Ask Jody Hildebrandt. A parent taking a child and getting advice to sadistically abuse their kid is no defense. When you do go to a court, when you will get judged by a jury of your peers, no adult is going to allow you to say, oh, I abused my child because I thought I was really practicing a religion. No, sir. That is completely ridiculous and stupid. And it couldn't be more of a stupid, idiotic point to be making. Yet that's the only point that the mainstream media always makes. Oh, Scientology can do whatever. No one can do anything because you know what? You know, believe whatever. We're really in a very free country. Well, the free country also purports to have a 13th Amendment right to not be enslaved. And that 13th Amendment right supersedes the fact that these people want to really claim that because a convicted felon wrote it down on a piece of paper that they could act with impunity, they can get away with it as long as they're calling that a religious belief. If they did that between consenting adults, yes. If they did that between two consenting adults and the adults are like all about, oh yeah, lock me up here for the next 9 hours. I really want to be asked disgusting, unthinkable questions. I don't care. It's really getting me somewhere. No one can come and help you from that. No one. But children cannot be put in that position. Rochelle S., good to see you, Rochelle. Seems like they're giving up parental rights when their child signs a billion-year contract. I mean, yeah. They're transacting. It's a transaction. It's an economic transaction for the Scientology parents that dump their kids at a hotel, and then all of a sudden they don't have to pay for their schooling. They don't have to pay for their clothes. They don't have to pay for their food. They are financially incentivized to turn their children into slaves. Imagine that. Amy Lee. Hello, Amy. Good to see you again today. Orthodox Christians don't go to church only if you want to. Nobody tells me nothing. And of course, kids from all over the world are trafficking. Yeah. I mean, again, it's like religions aren't supposed to be ordering you around. That's not religion. Orders, force, coercion. Coercion is not religion. Hello, Teres. Good to see you. NMKIS. No more kids in Scientology. 1000%. Even having kids thinking they can save the world. Oh my God. Exactly, Tina. There's just no words for that. Hello, CC. Thank you for becoming a member. Welcome. Yep, that's exactly right, Mary Sue. Narcissistic, psychopathic, convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard. Larry, thank you for becoming a member and good to see you. Dreamscape, normalizing the abnormal to make abuse acceptable is horrendous. Correct, Dreamscape. So let's not normalize it anymore. No one follow the words of L. Ron Hubbard, convicted felon that he was and is. Hello, August. Good to see you. I'm well. Thank you for making it to the live. An auditor and then also in the Sea Org double whammy. Yeah. I was first trained as an auditor, not in the Sea Org at age 12. And by the time that I got to age 15, my parents had trained me to become a class 4 auditor. Then that's when they gave me up to Debbie Cook to literally have me trafficked. Dreamscape, I worked in psych emergency. Many times we would say that a person showing up for help was not actually the person that needed the help. In other words, we need to be treating the problem, not the result. Very, very true. Very, very true. I completely agree with you, Mary Sue. Scientology's sickest belief is that children are adults in small bodies. I mean, just that one belief in it of itself opens the door to all the other dysfunctions that are going to be normalized. Amy, it's extra sinister because kids are so impressionable, and the ones who don't know what is normal sadly make the best Sea Org members or auditors. Is sick. It's so true, Amy. That's such a good point. And that's why they were always going after kids, you guys. That's why all the recruitment of kids, L. Ron Hubbard was so about it. And then all the people that followed on his footsteps, all the executives, Debbie Cook was obsessed with getting as many underage kids as she could get to herself. And you guys already saw the live that Aaron did with Debbie Cook just today. I did a live debunking her email where she really is all about L. Ron Hubbard and all about all of that abuse. And apparently, pretends to be so clueless that she was doing abuses on kids. AMC, Serge, you and Jenna are the two most intelligent ex-members. I wonder what it must have become if you grew up outside the cult. Thank you, AMC. I wonder too. Thank you, Serge. Now I know I'm not the problem. I'm the stick that will stop the wheel. Yes, KDD, you are not the problem. You were never the problem. That's all that was ever projected on us. Y'all are the problem. This is a problem. You're a problem. You should really be okay with this. And no, the year is 2024. Today, we are highly aware of who the problem is. L. Ron Hubbard is the problem. L. Ron Hubbard is the one that wrote the sick policies that keep everyone stuck in the past. And you know what? It's time to come to present time. And then it's time to reconcile all of that dysfunction, take accountability, and change it so the future is free of children being abused. It's really just that simple. It's literally just that simple. Hello, Lauren. Good to see you. Amy Lee, they are turning their kids over. My mom signed away her parental rights to the orthodontist who was a Sea Org at Flag because I had braces. Imagine they had an ortho on staff for all the teenagers. Unthinkable, Amy. unthinkable that happened. I arrived to the Sea Org with braces myself. So again, we were just literally children. Hello, Joe. Kids are vulnerable and sick, so my information in. We can't let them suck all this BS in their tiny little growing minds. Exactly, Joe. Well, you guys, once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for having this conversation about scapegoating and black sheep. Today, we are being the change that we want to see. We are advocating powerfully to stop the senseless exploitation and abuse of underage kids being brought from countries outside of the US to serve as slaves, very much like they used to do back in the day. America's still in the practice of bringing slaves into its shores and shoving them in hotels and having deranged slave masters play that they can act with full impunity, that they can enslave other humans so that they get some sort of religious whatever. So it's time for all the people that are into that practice to get checked, to have a real reality check, because the law is not on your side, Scientology parents. The law is not on your side, Scientology lawyers. Scientology lawyers, Scientology attorneys, all the literal people that are cashing checks. Oh yeah, let's sign up to be Scientology's lawyer to really defend this practice. Good luck defending the utterly indefensible Scientology lawyers. You couldn't be more lopsided in your thinking at best, or you couldn't be more lacking any skills to do a shred of due diligence on your client, that couldn't be more unhinged, that couldn't be one to not be told to not do what they're doing. And yet you're being paid to consult them on not breaking laws. And yet all Scientology parents are breaking laws left, right, and center, acting with full impunity, and everyone around acts dumb, like everything is fine and everything is great and everything is wonderful. The First Amendment right doesn't allow you to act like a full-blown criminal and get away with it. Ask Lori Daybell if that worked out for her, as she's rotting in jail for the rest of her life, as she did commit criminal acts in furtherance of a delusion. Ask Jody Hildebrand and Ruby Franke if they got away with doing what they got away with. Felonies on children are illegal. They always have been and they always will be. So the more that is confronted, the more that children can be actually put into a safe environment and out of harm's way. And the more the Scientology parents can come to their senses and stop committing criminal acts on a daily basis. I thank you guys all for watching. Please hit the like, please hit subscribe. And if you agree that no more kids should be in Scientology anymore, follow us and join us in advocating for a future where there's going to be no more kids that are stuck inside the Scientology hotels. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all soon.